So now, please observe your surroundings and describe to me what you experience around you. Taking your time and staying calm and relaxed.
I am above the earth. There is a small platform that I am walking upon, and it is sort of like it's almost like an elevator level above the earth. Like there's an energetic elevator that takes you above the surface where certain beings reside and chit chat and whatnot.
And what else do you observe?
Sky is beautiful. There are many galaxies that are very easily visible, with a large purple aura going towards the earth. There's celebration. These energies are due for the planet to accelerate the growth of everybody.
And who am I speaking to?
This is Nocturnus, or the name given to the being of this entity's future incarnation.
Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to ask you, what are your intentions with this channeling?
My intentions are to make known the conditions of human life as it relates to the larger system known as the planet and as the solar system, so that those who may know the information may choose for themselves how to use it.
Thank you. And do you have the best possible intentions in love and light for humanity and for Earth?
Yes.
Thank you. So as you were saying, there's a large purple aura, and it's to do with the planet and its accelerated growth for everybody on it. Is that correct?
Yes, these are what are known by many of the metaphysical community as the rays. These rays are specific bandwidth frequencies that may be accessed by the individual for various purposes. For example, the emerald green ray is for healing. The purple ray is for projections and queries of a psychical and metaphysical nature, as well as protection. What are known for the ray colors of the quote-unquote lower chakras can be utilized for physical attributes and physical means of strengthening the body and the lower mental faculties. These have been granted to the earth based on the position of the earth relative to the galaxy. And this is why it is such a big milestone in the old ancient calendars and ancient ways of timekeeping.
So, what's the position of the Earth got to do with the chakras?
The central sun of the galaxy is what is known by modern scientists as a black hole. However, recent developments have now determined that there is a radiation given off by this black hole. This radiation is then dispersed within our specific spiral galaxy and affects the way that light moves. And so, based on the orbit of the Earth around this central sun, we have moved into a position where the energy from this central sun is affecting the atomic and quantum fields of the various bodies within our solar system. Our very own sun, as seen from the planet Earth, is a reflection of this, as there are many sunspots, solar flares, and magnetic shifts occurring on the sun at this moment that directly affect the field that surrounds the Earth, meaning new wavelengths and bandwidths of energies are allowed to enter into the strata of the Earth.
So, how does that affect our chakras or the chakras of the Earth or the Sun?
The chakras are, in a simple way to explain it, the organs of the energy body. So just as you change the air quality and water quality given for the physical body, changing the frequency of light given off by the sun affects the organs of the energetic body on the subtle level.
Okay.
Which is why the vehicle at this present moment can feel various physical movements of energy within his body as this channeling has taken place, because these subtle organs are being activated and they are dovetailed into the physical body, meaning that any energetic changes made are reflected onto the physical body as certain sensations. This is why Reiki and other forms of medicine are effective ways of treating individuals, because you can essentially tackle the energy from various different dimensions.
So, all the different densities channel into the physical body activated here.
Yes, the densities that you describe are it's just like a radio. The densities can be accessed by the individual in various degrees based on, to put it plainly, the ability for the individual to tune his consciousness to a specific frequency. This is what determines what type of density or dimension a being is on in any given moment.
Mm-hmm. I think it was from the raw material, it said about the frequency of matter. It may have been from there. Is that a valid statement that matter being energy exists at different frequencies, hence you have the densities.
Yes, every single object in the physical plane vibrates at a specific frequency based off of the scales that have been created by humans known as hertz or cycles per second. This is very much the same for all forms of light and information, even those beyond the physical spectrum of the eyes. However, the pineal gland also contains cones which can receive light information of different wavelengths, meaning that the third eye is capable of perceiving what are known as different dimensions because simply it can perceive different frequencies of light than the physical eyeballs.
Okay, so the pineal gland, the third eye, can perceive different frequencies of matter, so it can perceive the different densities.
Yes,
Can it perceive all densities or just the adjacent ones?
this depends on the structure of the gland. See, the gland is like a crystal. That is what the cones essentially do. They create a crystalline geometry within the gland. So, based off of the geometry, there are various different frequencies that reflect off of the third eye in various ways, so you perceive them differently. Certain beings, for the human body, it is very vast in the amount of frequencies that can be perceived within it. Not all of them, but on the physical plane itself, there is vast amounts of energy beyond human comprehension that can be seen with the third eye. But there is the energetic reflection of this gland, which is known as the Ajna chakra, which experiences reality differently. So it is hard to articulate in a linear sense, being able to see all dimensions.
So,
But for vernacular sake, you can say so.
so how might the third eye perceive the fourth density?
By bringing attention to the awareness of fourth density ideas and frequencies, love, unity, wisdom, understanding. This density still is very much involved in physicality, but it is much more malleable, essentially. It changes based off the consciousness of the person having the experience. This is why Jesus said that we can move mountains with our faith. He was referring to this density of energy specifically.
So how would the law of attraction work in the fourth density?
In the same way that it does in the third, there are still very, atomic structures, you could say, of matter, and they all vibrate at a certain frequency. So based on that given frequency, it attracts different energies towards it.
So would the law of attraction have more of an effect on the fourth density or less?
It would have the same effect, but there would be less obstruction to the desired outcome. So let's say in the third density, somebody is very, you could say, paranoid. Their mind is clouded with various degrees of thought forms that invoke an unbalanced nature and an unsure way of showing intention. So the law of attraction, of course, while always in effect, doesn't give immediate results because the universe is essentially getting sent mixed signals. However, in the fourth density, there is knowledge of the I, there is knowledge of the divine presence within. So therefore, it is much easier for the being to manifest that which it desires because there is 100% one-pointedness and concentration on the reality that is intended to be projected. Does that make sense?
Yep. So the thing that's being attracted would manifest or happen much quicker
Yes.
And you would have the understanding of how to use that better just by the fact that you have even made it to the fourth density.
Yes, see, the feeling of time actually resides within the body. This is why you can have a dream that seems to last for a very, very long time, even though you've only been taking a nap for about 30 minutes. This feeling of time is found within the body, so in reality, the fourth density is just the consciousness being able to manipulate its sense of time so that it can manifest things that would otherwise be perceived as taking a long time to someone that is not aware of the feeling of time itself present within them.
So in the fourth density, you can manipulate time. So let me just make a statement and tell me if this is any good. So in this third density reality, we can move around in space at will, but time is linear. But in the fourth density, that you can move around in space at will also, but you can also move around in time at will.
Yes, the quantum field is very conscious. There is a very conscious knowing of the quantum field where a particle can be in two places at once. This is what it means to transcend duality. You're now in what is phrased by this vessel as trinary. Trinary being the space between the two poles, being in both places at once, etc., etc.
Could you expand on that concept of trinary?
Yes, so in traditional binary code, there are ones and zeros. The value of a given bit is either 1 or 0, and it is the combination of these in a row that create bytes, and they create more and more distinctions infinitum. Trinary is different because you can have the value of 1, you can have the value of 0, you can have the value of 1 and 0, or you can have none of them at all. This is a very crude way of saying that your mind and what you perceive has expanded. You have included all possibilities within yourself. Therefore, there are no limits. Therefore, this is what moksha really is in the ancient Hindu scripts.
So trinary corresponds with transcending duality, so it's not just either or, it's the wholeness.
Yes, it is both and neither at the same time. This is the paradoxical teachings that are found in various traditions.
Okay. So how do you perceive our transition to the fourth density is going?
It is going very well. It was a surprise to many what effect this would have on the physical body, as this has never been done before. There has never been a transition between these sort of levels of energies while a species that was in its current level of development resided on the planet. Typically, the planet would make the energetic adjustment before any type of entities would attempt to incarnate there in order to, learn whatever lesson is involved within that realm or within that type of field. But this is different. The role of the human is actually to help maintain this transition for the planet. The planet depends on humans' abilities of comprehension and understanding within a larger context, just as we are completely dependent on the energies of the earth to provide us everything we need for our physical vessel's survival. This is a unique experience which has not been seen within this galaxy specifically. And it is very, very strongly almost completely laid down onto the earth like a pancake, this sort of grid that's been placed upon us. And we are handling it very, very well. Of course, this creates a lot of tension and a lot of things that must be cleared in order to maintain these sort of vibrations, which is why it seems like things are very chaotic at the moment, because these things must come up to the surface before they can be cleared away.
But surely there has been other species that have been present on a planet while it's made a transition between densities before?
Yes, but they were aware of it. Most of the human beings on this planet are not really aware of what's happening. That's what is very surprising, because this transition is incorporated into the individual lessons of each individual's incarnation. That is what makes this so special. Being a grid keeper, but not knowing you are a grid keeper while you are living everyday life, is a very unique experience as far as this system is concerned. When we look at it in the totality, everything has already happened. Our consciousness is simply moving through different experiences and perceiving them as new. A gift indeed.
So it's unusual here that people have roles that they don't even know about.
Yes, because they're awakening to them at every given moment. The nature of the phi-based vehicle, which is the human body, is the spiral pattern found in the Fibonacci sequence. That is the rate with which the consciousness of a human being expands. So while it may seem like we are going backwards in many instances, we are actually bringing our awareness back to these events, which will allow us to clear them. That's why war, poverty, and famine are still happening, because while they may not have, it may seem like we are going backwards, human beings are simply clearing this from their consciousness. Now that these atrocities are being brought to the public's attention, it is the intention of the majority that we don't want these things to be happening in our life anymore. This is where the true expansion is happening.
So even though it seems like we're regressing, we're really progressing and getting it out of our systems.
Yes, you could say that. And in the larger context, the Earth is removing these beings who are holding vibrations that are not of the new energetic grid. And it is not in any way forced, or it is not some sort of push and pull. It is simply a matter of the environment that the Earth is providing for the beings on the planet. The environment tailors to certain frequencies, and many frequencies now, known as evil and distortion, can only exist on a higher level now. Cruder ways of being are very much eradicated quickly here. This is why society has evolved to such a way that our survival is not our number one concern anymore. We have sort of learned those lessons already and moving on to new ones. Of course, each individual is at their own level, and the way that they develop affects the totality of the collective consciousness. So it is more complex than just the blanket statements I am making, but it is an upward trend. It is a spiral. It is an expansion. It is always expanding.
So is the conscious level of consciousness increasing or raising exponentially? Is it speeding up?
Yes, you could use the word exponential. The mathematics that you are thinking of are based on a certain geometric system known as the Kabbalion system, which is why there are 10 Sephiroth, and you have the digits 0 through 9. But that is a topic for another day.
Okay, so back to the fourth density then. Is this a gradual transition or will there be an event?
It is a gradual transition with many markers of significant events that are taking place. The consciousness of this vessel specifically is witnessing a current event in the economic turn. Right now, there are many ideas that are being pitched onto the worldwide market that are affecting the way that we view currency drastically. This is one event that is taking place now that technology is becoming a part of everybody's life. Again, there is the partial disclosure that is taking place. There is also the disclosure of the control systems that were once very much in domination of this planet that are now being revealed. And this is affecting everybody in various ways, subconsciously as well as consciously.
So, do we eventually, will we require, I'm not going to go for predictions, sorry, is currency required or can we exist without it?
Well, the word currency is the same as the word current. So, currency simply applies to the motion of energy. Now, the way that economies work in a very simplified way is that in order for one person to receive goods, there must be an exchange of something of equal value to the seller. And this could be anything. So, yes, you are correct in that our concept of currencies will change. It will no longer be a piece of paper backed by government. It'll be a storage of value in some way. Currently, there are the models of cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin, which represent a store of value. Now, this could change as well at any moment, but the idea of a true storage of value is what is evolving on this planet. So, another way to put it is that if an individual has many skills, he has certain value to the market. So, he can sell his skill or craft in exchange for any items or other services that may be provided to him. This is like the classical barter system, except the expanded version is that with the advent of technology, individuals can now make their craft known to the whole world and be accessed by every other individual on the planet, and vice versa. This is where it goes beyond just a traditional barter and trade system. It becomes open source wealth management.
Yeah. So, here's a nice question for you. So, is there not civilizations out there where there is no value stores of this kind, where people just provide their skills and services in return for just the joy of doing it and for supporting the whole of their community or the whole of their race, where people just contribute skills and labour for the good of everyone and freeing up their free time as well?
Yes, there are.
Okay. And, okay.
Yes, human beings simply haven't learned all those lessons and able to do that cohesively. It's not to say they won't, but there is still the idea of my money, my profits. Notice how much this changes these ideas so drastically with the simple addition of one word. If I say the word money and my money, these are two totally different things, but at the same time, I haven't changed money at all.
What would be the best way to transcend this concept of my and make it for the good of the all?
Will realize that it was here before you and will be here when you leave, so how can you claim it to be yours? There are certain things that human beings can be responsible for creating, but anything like a resource on the planet is just silly. Clearly, we did not create the Earth. The Earth was a vessel. We are using this vessel, and we will give back what we have used when we are done with it. That is the real idea of currency. You must keep it moving. It cannot be stagnant. If it is stagnant, then no power is created. This is why there are many individuals who just accumulate wealth, but yet are very much dig deep in the trenches of their own materiality and are not happy, have not found any answers, have not found ways to express themselves effectively. And this is why monetary policy is going to be changed very drastically in the future once individuals realize what true value is.
And will the vibrations on this planet raising help people to realize true value?
Yes. They will seek value within themselves and not outside of themselves.
Okay. So what will the fourth density look like?
It'll look like the third density, except the motion of energy will just be much more visible. For example, the phi base geometry emits certain frequencies. This frequency can be seen very clearly. It is a very uniform pattern and it moves based on certain thought form projections that are made by any entity interacting with it. This will be known intuitively by all that live on the plane, but metaphysics is the means of explaining these concepts in technical, compartmentalized terms that are useful for the rational mind to comprehend. But it'll essentially be the freeing of the rational mind from having the overloaded payload it has been given now in this density, in this current Earth realm. Because the intuition will be allowed its true power, and this and the rational mind will work cohesively together.
Okay. So at the moment, there's a lot of people reporting phenomena, personal and paranormal phenomena, such as more psychic events happening and premonitions, out-of-body experiences, seeing orbs or spirits. Can you comment on why so many people are experiencing such things?
Yes. As the energetic organs are being given new light codes, this means that basically they're turning on. The majority of people on the planet have had their psychic faculties completely dampened by various aspects on the physical and mental levels, such as mental programming, unclean water and food sources, social norms, and priorities given to children at a young age. All of these things contribute to people not paying attention to their own subtle vibrations that happen within them. However, now that the energies are accelerating on the planet, these vibrations are not as subtle as they used to be. So people are noticing them now. It is not to say that they have not been communicating with thought forms and spirits on various degrees, but they have not been aware of them. Now, this awareness is being brought to their attention.
So is this the fourth density coming about?
Yes, you can see it in the reflection of the Schumann resonance, how it increases so drastically. The Earth itself is vibrating at a different frequency than it did just about 5 years ago. If you see that, the higher the frequency, the higher the energy, the more vibrations per second are occurring on an anatomic level. This means that there is more to perceive for the human consciousness. Therefore, correlation of psychic and paranormal phenomena will increase as well.
Okay. Okay. Also, still regarding phenomena, personal ones, often people are experiencing a certain sensation of oneness during meditation. So awakenings seem to be happening and triggered a lot at the moment, and this is manifesting as a sensation of feeling expansive, large, or one with the universe all of a sudden, not just during meditation, but at any time, as a sudden experience. Can you comment on why that might be occurring?
Yes, I will explain it in energetic terms. The human body is a vessel, and within this vessel, there are many different ways that energy can move through it. There's the blood circulation, there's the air circulation, there are the mental thought currents, etc., etc. Now, the feeling of oneness comes when this energy is allowed to be flowed through freely. So, when the energy is flowing, there is no distinction between the energy and what is having the energy flow through it. It's kind of cumbersome to explain, but you can essentially view the human body as porous, and the feeling of oneness comes when the energy is no longer being blocked by means of either identification with the body or identification with thoughts and feelings and actions that take place within the physical vessel. So when an individual meditates, they basically open up their bodies and their mind and their various bodies on various planes. They open them up to allow energy to flow through them. In very crude terms, this explains the feeling of oneness, because now the consciousness has access to so many different feelings and experiences that I didn't before, because it was holding on to certain identifications.
So, by freeing up the flow of energy within the body and within the mind, we naturally start to realize the truth of oneness,
Yeah.
the truth.
You lose that separation between yourself and the world around you.
So, by freeing up energy, i.e., doing our inner work, etc., we naturally come to the conclusion of the reality of creation.
Yes. This knowing is a feeling less than it is some sort of book knowledge. This is why it has been very difficult for spiritual systems to explain very accurately the nature of existence. They have to use analogies and metaphors, etc., to make a clear point. This is why Zen was such a popular method for a while, because the questions asked were impossible to be answered by the rational mind. It basically forced your rational mind to stop coming up with models and instead forced you to feel what the answer of the question was. When you open yourself up to that, you allow yourself to experience that certain vibration.
So, in order to truly understand the oneness, of creation. It must be experienced.
Yes. Otherwise, it is just pure speculation.
And what are the best ways to free up the energy in oneself?
Whatever allows someone to be comfortable with what they're doing. There is no one-size-fits-all method. There are just suggestions to the individual to open themselves up. For example, many athletes feel this feeling of oneness because they're so keyed into the experience of the sport that they're doing that separation between the person doing the sport and the sport being played are basically gone. So that's why they say that there is the potter and the pot, and the potter becomes the pot. It is that same concept and can be done with any activity. And meditation is simply non activity, which is why it's a very popular method.
So, in terms of an infinite information based reality, if you have the potter and the pot, is the program of the potter almost becoming the program of the pot?
Yes, but this is what goes into that whole trinary concept, because now you have the potter and the pot, and then you also have the experience of the potter making the pot, and you have the witness to the experience of the potter making the pot. Does this make sense?
Mm-hmm. There's
Yes.
more dimensions to the experience in the fourth density.
Yes, and this is what, allows you to experience things at more than one place at one time because you've now changed your concept of time within you and you can experience multiple things at once without any time passing by per se.
So, as we move into the fourth density, is this why people are experiencing funny anomalies that they report with time, such as it moving very quickly or somehow jumping in time?
Yes.
And can you explain or clarify the reason why people are experiencing time anomalies as we move?
Yes. The feeling of time is generated by the mind. So as the frequency of the earth changes, the frequencies that the mind experiences also change. So this affects the dynamic of time.
If we will be more and more able to move around in time at will, does that mean that the past will alter to change the future depending on what we are focusing on manifesting or attracting?
Yes, because you can view the past in an infinite amount of ways. Many people who used to view their past relationship as abusive at the same time can view their past relationship as a way that allowed them to grow and expand because they learned so much about what it means to be in a relationship with somebody who is damaged.
So, by perceiving the past differently, will that create different futures?
Yes, but at the same time, you're not changing any event that happened in the past. All of the events that you experienced did happen. You're just viewing them from a different perspective.
Will we be able to change past events in order to create new present or future events?
Yes, you can do this within the mind, but memory is not stored within the mind. So what happens is that we change the way that we experience our past. Therefore, this is basically just like changing the past itself because all that matters is the experience of it. There is no way to validate what happened in the past outside of the experience of that event.
Mhm. And does this actually create different timelines?
Yes, because it affects the way that the being looks towards the present and the future. which ultimately affects their belief systems, which affect the way they experience reality.
Okay, I see. Okay. Oh, okay. So timelines, all different timelines, different possibilities are actually very much linked with our perceptions and our thoughts.
Yes.
Is this because the higher self is generating many different, a multi-dimensional view of time with lots of different possibilities?
Yes, if we're looking at it from the perspective of the totality, it is not really all that complicated. Your life's experience is generated within you. So if you change the internal conditions, you change your life's experience. It's just as simple as that. So if you change the energies within your mind, within your body, etc., and you're within your energy body even, you change the way that you experience. Your experience simply changes. So, for example, if I change the way I look at nature instead of being something very crude and not that smart, I see it as a system that works together. I've now totally changed my experience of nature without changing nature at all.
But can actual sequences of events be changed by changing perceptions?
Yes, because now that you've changed the perception, you've changed the way the being interacts with its environment. So that would put it in a position to experience different possibilities than it would have before.
Okay. And by what, even by changing your perception now, you could change past events.
You change the way you view the past events. Your dream body, when you go to sleep, is a time machine. So you can take it back in time and experience things over and over and over again in any way that you want. The soul does this as well, which is why deja vu occurs.
Okay. So, from the higher self's point of view, are there lots of different timelines that all just join up again at the end of a perceived lifetime and the higher self gets to experience all of it?
Yes, but it also changes in various parts of each timeline. The many times the incarnation understands that it has had art incarnations in the past and will continue to incarnate, but that time is not linear in all dimensions, meaning that these incarnations can interact with one another. So all the incarnations are connected in many degrees, not just at the end.
Okay. Does each person have an entire web of different possibilities that they could have probably lived through? Are they all experienced, or is it just one timeline that's really experienced?
They're all experienced, but they're experienced in different degrees. For example, some beings, while being incarnating in a physical vessel, will have mental projections of their past life, and they could view their past life perhaps in a certain lens that doesn't lend exactly to the past life that it had, but it did so in such a way that it may learn from it the most effective way possible. If I knew nothing about the history of the Mongolian Empire, yet I lived in it at one point, the type the way that I would experience my past life if I had any sort of psychic phenomena would change. I wouldn't be able to identify where I was. I would just know that it was at a point in time that I am not in now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but say myself in this lifetime, each uh, decision I make might make a new timeline. Do
Right.
each of those timelines actually exist and I actually
Yes.
experience them, that the higher self experiences me, Nicky Sutton, in each of those timelines having those experiences?
Yes, every single possibility exists infinitely in the now. Every single God is the culmination of all frequencies. It is infinite frequency. Therefore, it creates a uniform line because it is just straight up and down if you look at it on some sort of frequency chart.
Okay.
So they all exist, but the experience of subjectivity of an individual affects the way that it is experienced in different unique ways.
Okay.
Being a man versus being a woman changes your everyday experience because it is a subjective change.
So the higher self experiences all possibilities, all timelines of each entity that incarnates.
Yes.
That's a lot of information.
Yeah, it's a lot.
A lot of information for the higher self to process.
Yes. Thankfully, time does not affect the higher self the way that it affects beings in the lower density, so it has all the time in the world it needs to process these experiences.
Okay. Okay, so back to the Schumann resonance, which is supposed to be like the average of all radio waves. It's radio waves on the electromagnetic spectrum given off by things like lightning, and the frequency, the average frequency of all of that happening. Can you just once again comment or clarify on why the Schumann resonance is increasing again?
We are in a different sector of the galaxy. Within this sector, there is a band or belt of, you could call it radiation. This is simply just frequencies that are vibrating. And as the Earth is moving through it, the Earth vibrates in accordance to the vibrations that it is encountering on its orbit. So, if I were to sit on a seat and the seat were to begin to vibrate, my body would begin to vibrate in relation to the vibrating seat. They may not be the same frequency, but the relationship is there. So this same relationship is happening with the planet Earth, the Sun, and our system moving through the galaxy.
Okay.
This is known as a quantum leap by physicists. This is the process that our sun is going through right now. It is going through a quantum leap, and it is taking us with it.
Okay. Will there be a significant solar flare or flash that contributes to ascension, or is it?
Yes, there will be numerous.
And it bathes the Earth in electromagnetic radiation, and this affects us how?
It affects us in various degrees. So many that you can refer to our old material to get an accurate description of what happens when you change the internal conditions of a being. Everything that I discussed about internal conditions applies to this, what is known as ascension. None of these are separate events, they're all the same thing. Everything is expanding, growing, there are more possibilities. We are able to access more and more frequencies as the days go on, so this affects the potential of experience for human beings on the planet.
Okay. And could you go into light codes that you mentioned a bit, please?
Yes, light is essentially information. So, light codes just means different light frequencies of light coming in contact with the earth and the beings on the earth, and It's what's known in the spiritual community as downloads. Specifically, the cosmos downloads these through the crown chakra, and it descends into the lower spheres and is translated based off of the characteristics of those spheres, so that there is a visual projection for the mind's eye, there is a sound for the throat chakra, there is a higher feeling for the heart chakra, there is a physical feeling for the solar plexus, and there is stimulation for the two lower chakras as well. All of these are mirrored, and all of these happen based off of the light that is in contact with the being.
Okay. Does the sunlight affect our chakras?
Yes.
And in what way?
Cleans them, purifies them, energizes them, provides them with... It's just like eating good food. It's exactly the same except for an energy body. There are beings who actually live on a diet of liquid light that live on the sun.
Would, just like splitting white light through a prism into 7 colours, does that correspond with and or feed our chakras in any way?
Yes. The human body is a vessel, so when light enters it, it refracts the light in various degrees, based off of the internal conditions again.
Okay. So, a few more minutes then. So, do we need to look at sunlight?
You don't need to do anything, but the act of sun gazing is very beneficial.
Can we receive light codes or downloads by sun gazing?
Yes. You can do the same thing with the moon. You can do the same thing with various spheres found within the sky.
But isn't the light coming from the moon just sunlight reflecting off the moon?
Yes and no. All the light comes from one central source, but at the same time, the moon is not simply just reflecting the light of the sun. There is also light being emitted from every single body in the sky. If you look, the planet Mars is giving off large amounts of light, far more than just the reflection of the sun.
Okay. Okay.
The planets shine very brightly in the sky. This should be noted by those who view astronomy and astrology and are looking to understand what it means to be a celestial sphere. Dr. George King explained one time that basically the light switch of the Earth has been turned off for the longest time. It does not shine brightly like the other planets do that we are able to see visibly with the naked eye. And this is because of the frequency of the planet. The planet has had to remain at a certain frequency in order for the beings that live on the planet to sustain themselves. But now that we are moving up energetically, this light is being switched on, to put it in that sort of context. And because of this, the beings on the planet have to learn how to switch on their own lights as well in order to live on the planet still. This is why there is a timeline split happening between those who are choosing to be a part of the ascension process and those who cannot bring their frequencies in accordance to the ascension, which is why many people are exiting the planet.
Okay. Alright, can I just ask how Brendon is feeling?
He's feeling very relaxed. His dog has just come over to cuddle with him.
Has he still got a little energy left?
Yes, the body just feels very light. There is the feeling of chi can be felt within the extremities very much. The heart center is very active at the moment, as the feeling of this transmission is being paid attention to make sure that there are no outside influences present.
That's very psychic. I was just going to ask you, is there any other outside influences present at the moment?
No.
Okay, so just then going back to what you were just saying about there is a timeline split. Could you elaborate on that?
Yes, there are simply beings who are choosing to embody the higher frequencies that are being present on the planet and those who are not. Those who are not choosing to do that will experience a different reality than those who are.
Oh.
This is why everybody is living in their own timeline. But these timelines mesh and meld within each other, which is why the individual can have experience with other individuals.
Yes, indeed. Okay. And so does that mean there's going to be a different version of Earth that's more negative and one that's more positive?
Yes, the Earth reflects back the fundamentals of nature is that it is an organic mirror, meaning it is not clouded by distortion. So if a person is feeling afraid, there is a high potential for their fear to be amplified in nature, because what is known in the community today is that animals can quote unquote smell fear. What this basically means is that nature is reflecting back to you what you are feeling internally.
Okay.
So that would be what is considered a darker version of Earth.
Okay.
The planet didn't change. The experience of the planet did change, though, based on the change in internal conditions.
Okay. Because you once said that the illusion of our matrix, or that the default setting of our reality or illusion without distortion is nature.
Yes.
So in order to reset to how our illusion is supposed to be at base level, you'd suggest going out in nature.
Yes, because everything you need can be found in nature. It is not to say that nature is perfect, but it contains every element that you also contain. There are many foreign elements founded in today's matrix that does not correspond to a healthy human. This is what the illusions are, basically. They're projected ideas, concepts, and physical materials found in the body that are not natural. None of these are found in nature. That doesn't mean that we can't learn more about nature and work together with it to create something even better. But we are not at that level. For example, creating buildings out of crystals. These crystals would be part of the Earth grid, but at the same time they would also be part of a human-made infrastructure. This would still be a part of nature. It would entirely be organic. But you can't find that in nature right now at this moment. This is a concept that I am wishing to emphasize, because we must understand that it's not just going back to nature that's going to save us. It's going back to what belongs to us. It's going back to our birthright.
Do you mean that every baby born is equally entitled to the earth as every other baby?
Yes. The soul of the baby made an agreement with the planet that it would live on the planet and have certain experiences, and the planet is providing that for them.
So the concept of ownership, one human owning a lot of land, another one owning nothing, is very distorted.
Yeah, because how could they really own it? When you die, when your physical vessel is no longer of any use, you can't take it with you. How is it really yours? What was yours was your experience of the land. Nobody could take that away from you. But there's no way for you to bind the land to yourself as yours. You can create an ecosystem with it, but as soon as you leave that area or choose to do something else, you affect the ecosystem. It's not solid. It doesn't quite work like that. You can be energetically bound to things, but that still does not make it yours.
So we have a lot of long-held beliefs, distorted beliefs to work through, haven't we?
Yes.
Okay, so one final question is that we've sort of touched on here and there, that I'll make a statement that all is, to a large degree, personality work. All is working on ourselves, our thoughts, our beliefs, in order to change reality, how it manifests energetically. Changing our thought patterns will change reality. So it's all a lot to do with personality work.
Yes, because the personality is essentially the vessel for individual experience. It allows the soul to interact as a human on the planet. And it is this part of the being that has to adapt to all the changes that are happening. The soul is completely free and can be a part of any scenario and still feel at home by itself. But when you have a human body that still possesses an ego consciousness, this part of this consciousness is not an enemy. This consciousness cannot be killed. This consciousness is simply a tool. And this tool is now being fashioned in such a way that it can be used for different purposes and actions now than it did before. This is what you are calling personality work in a metaphorical view. It's as if if I needed to, instead of fighting a battle, I needed to cut through foliage in a forest. Well, I would take my weapon and I would change it. I would heat it up. I would mold the blade in such a way that its purpose would change. It would now be a machete. It's still the same material, but it has changed. And you are correct in that it is a lot of personality work.
Okay. All right, so let's draw to a close now. So thank you very much for that insight.
You're welcome.
Are you ready to draw to a close?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to add before we finish?
Yes. This vessel still requires many energetic openings. We would recommend massage and ways to relax the body further. These would be great practices.
And how would Brendon relax himself further?
Continue to explore your yoga studies.
Okay. So would this strengthen the connection and the information coming through by being more relaxed?
Yes, because while he is still very relaxed, there are certain small little pains and tensions that can be felt right now within the body, and these are just energy blockages. The more these are clear, the clearer the message can be brought through.
Okay, and what about meditation?
Yes, we recommend connecting with the inner universe as a meditation practice. Connect with the internal organs. Connect with your chakras. Connect with your energy body. Connect with the part of you that allows you to be in a non-local space.
Okay.
And the best way to do this is to let it happen. You invite the frequency, and it shall be given to you. It is creating that space that is most important. Trying to be it or trying to find it will create more tension. What you're doing in meditation is you're allowing these things to happen.
Okay, so be in the mental frame of mind of inviting, but not to trying and being.
Yes, this is what all the various sitting postures and mudras are for. They open the body's energy channels in certain ways so that these frequencies are invited in. It's a passive way. That's why there are other methods that involve evoking energies and frequencies that are more active way, such as the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. This is a more active way of evoking certain geometries for magical purposes.
Okay, let's touch on all that magic and stuff next time.
Absolutely.
Lovely. Well, thank you once again. Are you ready to return now?
Yes.
Okay, so let those images fade now and let that experience fade and become aware of the door behind you, the one that you used to come in. Turn and face it, open it, and step back out into the lounge.